Hello, BookTube. There's been a rumor for the last few days that snow might be coming to Boston. Snow, where liquid precipitation freezes into particulate matter, white, fluffy particulate matter. I had to Google it. It has not snowed in Boston in well over a century, and that's because it's never cold in Boston. So, never cold enough to snow. It does sometimes plunge into the low 60s Fahrenheit, but never any lower than that in the memory of the oldest person who lives here, or at least since George W. Bush pulled the United States out of the Kyoto Accords. But nevertheless, all the forecasters were insisting on it, all saying that Boston could get this thing called snow, and that if we get it, it will be tomorrow, Tuesday, shortly after the morning commute, and may last all day, and maybe even a little more on Wednesday. And even though I don't believe that for a minute, I think Boston might get warm rain, but that's because that's the only thing that Boston ever gets. I still felt compelled to go to the Brattle bookshop and stock up on books, just in case, on the outside chance that it actually does this thing called snow. And for those of you who are new to this channel, the Brattle is a used bookstore in downtown Boston. I love going there. I've been going there for well over a year. And they have 3 stories. So the first 2 floors are just a fantastic used bookstore. And then the 3rd floor is collectible stuff, rare and collectible stuff. But also next door to the store, they have a sale lot that's huge. I know some of you might be familiar with a used bookstore that will have a barrow or 2 of discount books outside the shop on good days, on clement days, which is all that we ever get here. Boston is 65 to 75 all day long, every day, forever. So, but the Brattle has a lot more than that. It has thousands and thousands of bargain books out in the sale lot next to the store. $1, $3, and $5. So if you go out into the sale lot like I do, I am a denizen of the sale lot. I do shop indoors. I do look around inside the shop, but I spend most of my time out in the sale lot because it changes all the time. And if you go out there, you're going to hit a ceiling of how much you can carry before you hit a ceiling of how much you can spend, which is amazing. Also, because the most you're going to spend out there is $5, you can take a chance. You can come across something in the sale lot about which you know nothing at all, but your spidey sense is tingling just a little. You don't know anything about it, but you're thinking, this seems, I don't know why, interesting. I indulge in that all the time. I did today. So I got a pile of books, just in case it snows. I wouldn't want to run out of books, would I? I brought them back here, and I want to show them to you. Now, we're going to start and finish with trade paperbacks, but all the others are hardcovers. The first trade paperback that I got is to rectify a gap, because until 2025, if one of you saw a book on a book haul of mine or on a library tour of mine that you wanted, I would send it to you. But now I know that you don't know where you live. You don't know your own mailing address. No matter how emphatic I am, some key element will be left off it, even when you yourself are joking about it, saying, I've double-checked my own address, I know my own address. I will still get an email 3 weeks later saying, actually, now that I think about it, there was a key element that I left off. Seriously, there was a key element that I left off. Could you try again? So I don't do that anymore, which means that now I'm in the melancholy position of filling the holes that I created in my library with books that I grabbed and mailed to people. And I did that today. I found a trade paperback of Lost Dorsai by Gordon Dixon, one of these extensively illustrated paperbacks from the late 1970s, right? Is that right? 1980, the year 1980. This was a brief fad. All the same artists, as far as I could tell. I should probably mention, who is that artist? Fernando is his name. And not all the Dorsai books are illustrated, but a couple of them are. And I love the early Dorsai novels of Gordon Dixon. This is a science fiction series set in a future in which mankind has colonized a whole bunch of different worlds, and each one of those worlds has a kind of specialty that it can sell in the marketplace, the interplanetary marketplace. Each one has a specialists that it can train and then put out into the economy. This is very much a mercantile capitalist system. And one of the worlds that mankind has colonized is rocky and poor of resource, and it's called the Dorsai. The world is this rocky planet called the Dorsai. And early on, the inhabitants of Dorsai realize that the resource that they can shape and refine and then sell to the rest of the comedy of worlds is its own men and women. They can train their men and women to be the pinnacle of fighting forces. Tacticians, strategists, but also individually, physically, a little taller, a little faster, a little stronger than everyone else. To the point where characters point out in these early Dorsai novels that if the inhabitants of Dorsai, scattered all over the world, leading armies, heading up mercenary bands, if they were to withdraw to their own little world and fight against all the other combined human worlds, they would probably win. And as a result of that, over generations, the cantons of the Dorsai have become intensely militaristic. And Gordon Dixon liked to play around with that idea, and so he has, in this book, a Dorsai who is a pacifist. What would you do if you were a Dorsai who was a pacifist? That is our main hero here. And I love these early books. Of course, the Dorsai novels went off the rails, unfortunately, and became bloated and virtually unreadable. And there are a lot of them. There are like 9 of them that are that way. But the early ones, the novel simply called Dorsai with an exclamation point, is just a boy's adventure story. Not much to it other than the basics of introducing you to the world of the Dorsai. But Lost Dorsai, and there's a collection of 2 long Dorsai novellas called The Spirit of Dorsai. That is also excellent. And also Soldier Asks Not, which is probably the best of the books. And those early ones are terrific. So I grabbed this to go on the shelf. The place in the little book room is still open. So I'll just slide this in where it belongs. I now have a replacement volume. But then we deal with hardcovers, and the first hardcover is an example of what I was talking about. Something where I look at it and I don't know what the hell it is, but I'm willing to take a chance on it. For $1? For $3, I'm willing to take a chance on it. It's this thing. I think this was probably privately printed. This is called Skippin' the Details. The Memoirs of Charles Symington. With this tartan. That is the cover. That is not something that someone did to this. That is the cover, and we are told the material used on the cover is the Macduff tartan. The Earl of Fife, referred to in the first chapter, was a member of this clan. So we start off with a portrait of Charles Symington, and also a family tree in the shape of a tree, so that you can follow all of the Symington generations. And then we move straight on to the book itself. I am an old man living alone in a New York apartment. Sometimes people say to me, "Aren't you ever lonely in that big apartment all by yourself?" And I answer, chuckling, "Well, I might be, that is, if I ever were alone." But in fact, he's always bombarded by grandchildren. And from the opening picture, it's from Vermont Farm in 1962. And unfortunately, this thing, when did you come out? Are you going to tell me when you came out? Pretty sure this was privately printed, so it might not. 1966. This came out in 1960. The book came out in 1966, and it starts with a picture from 1962 of the Symington grandchildren. And unfortunately, 1966 is too early for anyone to digitally scan this thing and really sharpen it. So it's blurry. But even through a blur, I can tell that the Symington grandchildren do not lack for inherited family looks. They are a mighty good-looking family. And I think that's the old man right there. This is just going to be a random family story. I don't know that these Symingtons are my Symingtons. There was a guy, a garrulous, wonderful, friendly guy, also named Symington, from Massachusetts. I don't think this is his people. But we will see. I literally know nothing about it at all. It was just, it struck me right away that I might like to read it. And unlike in a new retail bookstore, it wasn't $35. So I can take a chance on it. Then these next two, oh my. Oh my. Did not even know these things existed. These are Everyman Library. I love the Everyman Library. They're just so solid, and they have the built-in cloth bookmark, and they're just wonderful. And I found not one, but 2 volumes of R.K. Narayan, an author I just love, mainly, of course, as everybody used to. I don't think he's known anymore, but I used to love him as everybody did for his Malgudi books. He came up with a village in India named Malgudi, and just wrote one slim, utterly charming, wise, and wonderful novel after another set in Malgudi. And I didn't know that Everyman's Library did any Narayan, much less 2. I found 2 volumes. So this is one. You see, a lot of times Malgudi is actually in the title of the book. But this is 3 short novels in the Everyman Library edition with the little bookmark. And then I also found this, another one. More of Narayan. This one is an ex-library copy, so it's got this, and it's got this, and those are going to have to be fixed, obviously, and I can make it so that you had no idea that this was ever a library card, except for, does it have library stuff on the inside? Oh, no, it doesn't. Not really. So this is the Swami and His Friends, Bachelor of Arts, The Dark Room, and The English Teacher. And I was looking at these, and this is Mr. Sampath, the printer of Malgudi, the financial expert, and Waiting for the Mahatma. And I believe I've read all of those. But from this book, I have read The English Teacher, and I don't think I've read the others. So that's fantastic. I haven't read anywhere near all the Narayan that's out there. Definitely not. But I will clean these 2 up, and they will do just fine for Narayan. I have, from time to time, found little olive green trade paperbacks from Penguin of his various books. I'd rather have them nice and durable like this. And who knows how many more Modern Library, or Everyman's Library did. Did they do more than 2 volumes of Narayan? I don't know. But I gobbled up these 2. That was great. That was the find of the day. I will spend some time cleaning this up, and it will have company. There's one other book that really needs a clean. But this had a sticker that went all across the spine, so that you've got sticky residue here. The key with that sticky residue is to let it be. Once you've peeled the sticker off and you've got the residue, let it be for a bit. It dries out pretty quick, and that makes it much easier to remove. But I'll have to go inside, take the dust jacket off, go inside, and take this off and this off, and then clean it up. But great to have. Then I found another anthology, a murder mystery anthology. I am now officially embarked on my lonely, solitary incel booktube event, an event for one, Deadly December, where I am reading murder mysteries to beat the band. I'm reading a huge amount of murder mysteries just to see if I can max myself out. I don't think I'm going to do it. I love murder mysteries too much. I don't think I'm going to do it. But I found a murder mystery anthology, Mysterious Schemes, an anthology of classic detective stories edited by Donald Westlake, who is a terrific writer. He is, if you were looking for, especially if you're a guy, and you're looking for an author you can just mine from front to back, who will never let you down, Westlake is one of those authors, very much so. If you're like, for instance, if you're familiar with Louis L'Amour or Max Brand or Elmore Leonard, and you're looking for another writer like that, I would suggest George Higgins and also Donald Westlake. They will not let you down. My only worry I grabbed this right away, sight unseen. I didn't even look at the table of contents. I will take any mystery stories that I can get, and this is I love anthologies, and this is an anthology that I don't have. My one worry was that Donald Westlake would commit the number one sin of anthology editors, in my opinion, which is to include himself in the book, and he does. The subtitle is Classic Detective Stories. You don't include yourself. That's for someone else to say about your work, not you. But anyway, who do we have in here? Lawrence Block, Simon Brett, Frederick Brown, Thomas Burke, John Dixon Carr, Raymond Chandler, G.K. Chesterton, Agatha Christie, Isaac Denison, Arthur Conan Doyle, Stanley Ellen, Susan Glaspell, Anna Catherine Green. See, there are going to be people in here that I don't know. And that's why I love anthology like that, because they introduce me to whole new people to chase down their whole work. Then these next two are, I think, probably a holdover from an extensive law library that was bought by the shop, an extensive amount of legal related stuff. I'm not 100% sure of that, but they were together, and what are the odds that they didn't come from the same place? If there's more, I will definitely take more. Like, for instance, I noticed the other day, because I went looking for it, that I do not have the big, glorious biography of Learned Hand. I don't have it. And I should. I also, there was a big biography of Justice William Douglas called Wild Bill. I got a copy of that at the Brattle, I think, a year ago, and again, I sent it out to one of you. So now I need to get a copy of that. But I found two jurisprudence books. I didn't see many others, certainly didn't see many others that I want. But I found two that I do want, and they both need a lot of love and care and attention. I will give it to them. The first one is by H.N. Hirsch, and it's called The Enigma of Felix Frankfurter, who, was a friend of Learned Hand, and also a nodding acquaintance in the hallways of William Howard Taft, and a friend and mentor and advisor and sounding board for President Franklin Roosevelt. He wasn't on such friendly terms with Theodore Roosevelt, but he led a fantastically interesting life and was a fantastically interesting figure. Very interesting that whoever does this book would choose an older Frankfurter for the cover. You don't usually do that because he was so distinguished looking when he was younger. But this is The Enigma of Felix Frankfurter, and I don't think I've ever read it. So it's right up my alley. But I think it was owned by a cat owner. That doesn't look like the normal wear and tear on a book. That looks like something a cat would do. So I'm going to have to take this dust jacket off, carefully tape all of these things on the inside of the dust jacket, tape those all together as much as they can be, and then put a covering over the whole thing. This is great. This is terrific. I have no idea what the enigma of Felix Frankfurter is. It has to do with his diaries. Is that right? Felix Frankfurter was perhaps the most influential jurist of the 20th century. Dream on. And one of the most complex men ever to sit on the U.S. Supreme Court. Mysteries and apparent contradictions abound. A vibrant, charming, friendly man, why are his recently published the diaries, so full of vitriol against some of his judicial colleagues, especially Justices Black and Douglas? This is going to be great. This is going to be so much fun. Until the Trump court, I was a dyed-in-the-wool U.S. Supreme Court junkie. Dyed in the wool. I read everything there was to read about them, and I also read their decisions. Not just the summaries in the news. I read their decisions. There's no point in doing that anymore, but I for a right up until the Trump court, I did that. And I'm glad that I cut that umbilical right away when the Trump regime started putting papier-mâché non-entities on the highest court in the land. People who aren't qualified to run a traffic court in Indianapolis, and they're on the Supreme Court. So I stopped paying attention then. I cut the cord then, and I'm glad I did, because that meant I cut the cord and stopped being interested in the Trump court before they violated 5,000 years of precedent by giving Donald Trump alone, only Donald Trump, unlimited power. He's not touched by the law anymore. He can kill someone and never be subject even to investigation, much less incarceration. It's illegal even to investigate, to gather materials. He's totally immune from the U.S. law. I stopped. I'm glad I stopped before then. But this thing, The Enigma of Felix Frankfurter, was not the only jurisprudential book that I got. I also got another book, and it also needs lots of loving care. I will just set these two aside. I will not play around with them at all. I will set them aside until I can completely rehabilitate them. This is by Leonard Levy, and it is called The Law of the Commonwealth and Chief Justice Shaw. And that is Lemuel Shaw on the cover. And the Commonwealth here is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the greatest state in the nation. I think I recognize this book, the title of it. I think I do, because I think I have seen this often cited in the background notes to the 800-page biography of Lemuel Shaw that I have read and that I have on the... Oh, wait, that book doesn't exist. Even though many of the greatest jurists of the last century and century and a half have said that he was one of the most important people ever to sit on the bench in United States history. Instead, Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, using the phrase of a fellow jurist, called Lemuel Shaw the greatest magistrate which this country has produced. Which is a pretty good descriptor. That you want to hold on to that if someone calls you that. It's not quite as good as Felix Frankfurter. Felix Frankfurter has the best one-line description that, in ye olden times, the best one-line description that any American could have is if J. Edgar Hoover, the tyrannical boss of the FBI, if J. Edgar Hoover called you the most dangerous man in America, that was a badge of honor that you could take that to your grave. And he did say that about Felix Frankfurter. He was a little bit too late for Chief Justice Shaw. My God, I can only imagine the eruption it would have caused if he'd said that about Shaw. But he is a fascinating figure. He is an opinionated and interesting figure, and he has a whole book about him, about his legal life. Although I imagine there'll be quite a bit in here about his personal life as well. And you might say, if you don't know anything about Lemuel Shaw, you might say, well, how interesting could his personal life be? And that involves who his daughter married. His daughter married a writer. You know what they're like. Writers are trouble. And they're especially trouble if they're Herman Melville. Anyway, then I got a work of history that I've had before. It will be familiar to you. I'm sure it's in your library. It's been familiar to me. I have had a copy of this a few times. And I've had a copy of this enough times to realize that I actually do want to keep it and refer to it. This is by Miranda Carter, and it is her book George, Nicholas, and Wilhelm, about the three relatives who started and prosecuted World War I. I found the big, perfect condition hardcover with the decal edges and everything. I thought, why not? Why not have this, right? Instead of constantly cycling through it, you probably want to keep a copy. Not only because it's interesting in its own right, but also out of personal penance that I'm going to conduct on myself until fate gives me a second chance. Because a couple of years ago, or something like that, last year, I went to the Book Barn in Niantic, Connecticut with David Murphy, and while he was looking at the economics section, I was down in the German history section, and I saw Roll's 3-volume biography of Kaiser Wilhelm, and I didn't get it. I took a picture of it. Typical sexy influencer. I saw all 3 volumes in a very attractive uniform yellow spine trade paperback set, and I didn't get it. I left it there. A definitive biography of one of the most pivotal figures of the early part of the 20th century, and also a great reading experience. I read those volumes as they were coming out, but I didn't keep them, and then I saw all 3 of them together, neat as you please, when I had a car ride back. I didn't have to carry them, and I left them. And of course, the next time we went, they were gone. So I am duty bound here. I'm that's him right there with the funny mustache. I'm duty bound to get this thing as penance until if I ever get another chance to get that Roll set. Then I found another ex-library copy, which is a mess. It's covered in crap, and I will fix it. I will fix it so that you never knew otherwise. But I have wanted to get this back. I got this originally from the bookstore. I was working in a bookstore when this came out, and I was overjoyed. I thought it was just long overdue and pretty and wonderful. I recommended it to a whole bunch of customers. I bought a copy. I think it was half my weekly pay that week. And then I got rid of it as things happened. And I've always wanted it since. It's the new complete works of Isaac Babel. And this is an ex-library copy, so it has this on here. It has this with an X through it there. It has a crapola on the back. So I will very carefully, very lovingly fix this. I will get this plastic covering off it, get all the sticky stuff off the plastic covering, put the plastic covering back on, and then I will finally have this volume, which is elegantly edited, wonderfully introduced, and reproduces Isaac Babel. All the work that he famously his last published words were, "I request only that I be allowed to finish my work." But he was shot 2 hours later, so it didn't get to do that. And this is just a lovely thing. So I'm very glad to have found it. I found this. I think this was $3, and probably it was out there in the sale lot because it's an ex-library copy with all this obnoxious stuff all over it. But that can be got off. Can't expect the Brattle to do that when they're cycling through hundreds and hundreds of books a day. You can't expect them to do that, but I will gladly do that. And then the final thing, we're back to a trade paperback. So we started with one, and we'll finish with one. And I don't know why I got this. It's a favorite subject of mine, but it's not like I need this or I'm going to learn anything from it. But I did. I got this big Oxford Illustrated History of the British Monarchy. So I will just, I mean, it's exactly the typical thing that you would expect. It does have a narrative, but it's got tons and tons and tons of illustrations. And I will just, I'll just go through this and probably not read the whole thing from start to finish. But this is a subject that I know really well. So probably this as an impulse buy was a little silly. I was impulse buying because we're going to get 10 feet of snow and I'm going to be buried forever, and I'm going to have to live on these books. This was the nightmare scenario I told myself. But this is going to be very entry level. I mean, it'd be nicely illustrated. That'll be fun to see. But who are the authors here? John Cannon and Ralph Griffiths. They're not going to step out on a limb at all. They're not going to say anything actually interesting about this subject. It's certainly not going to tell me anything that I don't already know. Like, for instance, I don't know if you can make it out, that cover, I know the identities of every single person that you're looking at. Not just the Queen, but all of these people. They're all individual faces of individual people, and I know all about them. I know who all of them are. And that's when you know that you really priced yourself out of beginning, opening narration stuff like this. But I got it anyway. It's pretty, and I don't have to keep it. I can always just cycle it back to the Brattle. So there you go. A Brattle book haul before the storm. There's not going to be any storm. We got the Oxford Illustrated History of the British Monarchy with the complete works of Isaac Babel. How good to have this! I very happily rescue it. They have George, Nicholas, and Wilhelm. A really good. I think I reviewed this when it came out, but a really good work of biographical history. Then 2 law books. I'm going to be very gentle with them. There's The Law of the Commonwealth and Chief Justice Shaw. There's The Enigma of Felix Frankfurt. I need to set both of those aside and take care of them. Then Mysterious Schemes, a murder mystery anthology edited by and starring Donald Westlake. 2 Malgudi volumes, 2 Narayan volumes from Everyman Library. How incredible is that? That is just so amazing. I found this, Skipping the Details by Charles Symington, where he just presides over it all. That's all. He's just presiding over his memoirs. No publisher, no price, no ISBN. I think this was probably a Vanity Press thing. I think it was probably just printed for the family. And just for some, I would give anything to know the journey of that book to get to the Brattle. I would give anything to know that. And finally, Lost Dorsai, which I'm thinking is probably due for a reread soon. A lot of the Dorsai books, I have them all. So, but that was the Brattle, and that just leaves with the question of what is going to be read tonight. Because every time I go to the Brattle, and I don't sit on these things, they'll all be done by the end of the year. But I like to handicap which thing is most likely to be brought into the little book room when the whole day is done. And just by instinct, often these calls change. But right now, I'm thinking the Miranda Carter book on World War I. right now, that is appealing to me the most. We'll see. But anyway, it was a good, quick Brattle trip. It was over in no time at all. Chatted with people there, got a bunch of books, reached my carrying limit, and then headed back here. So I will batten down the hatches for the snow. Anyway, I will wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.